Game of Thrones is always a dirty game. It's always surrounded by blood, and sometimes it happens to be the blood of innocent people. This is a movie that reflects the same lesson. Welcome to Movie Recall. In today's video, we'll be going through the 2001 movie From Hell. It's time to recall. Let's get started. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. The movie starts and we read some lines written by Jack the Ripper. He wrote, "One day men will look back and say I gave birth to the 20th century." The scene then changes to London in 1888, where a man named McQueen is seen harassing a prostitute named Mary. He wants the woman to work under his control. The next morning, when Mary is hanging out with other prostitutes, they are joined by their old mate Anne. She is a former prostitute now married to a wealthy painter named Albert, and she has recently given birth to a daughter, Alice. Anne goes on to give her daughter to Mary to babysit her for one day. Mary goes on to tell her that McQueen has been bothering them as he wants them to work for him. She says that he wants his own commission in our business, so under these circumstances, she's not going to be able to take care of this little girl as it can be dangerous for her. Anne, however, goes on to tell her that she will arrange some money for her. She can give that money as a commission to McQueen, and Mary likes the idea, so she also agrees to look after Anne's daughter. Albert and Anne are raided by the police at the place where they have been staying, and the police take them away. Mary also sees it happening, and when they do not return till night, Mary starts worrying about the little girl that has been given to her. They are worried that they have nothing to give the baby to eat. One of her friends goes to get something for the baby, but she is grabbed by someone in a secluded place. They brutally kill her and take out all her organs. In order to have this case thoroughly investigated, Sergeant Peter goes to Inspector Frederick. He tells him about the murders, and the prostitute murders grab the attention of Whitechapel Police Inspector Frederick, a brilliant yet troubled man whose police work is often aided by his psychic visions. Frederick is still grieving the death of his wife during childbirth 2 years earlier. He often gets drunk and is mostly found in bars drinking his brains out. His colleague, Sergeant Peter Godley, tries to grasp Frederick's strange theories. When he takes him to the morgue to show him the dead body of the woman, the man goes on to invest everything thoroughly, and Frederick's investigations reveal that an educated person, likely knowledgeable in human anatomy, is responsible for the murders because of the highly precise surgical methods used. We get to see a famous Dr. William who has found a method to cure other people's madness. They are going to operate on their first patient. Many people gather there, and the patient is on the stretcher. This patient turns out to be none other than Anne. She is there because the doctors deemed her violent and insane. It is implied that the operation is being performed in order to silence her. While Anne is being operated on, the scene changes to a club where the other prostitutes sit and talk about the current circumstances, which look scary from every angle. They think it has to be none other than McQueen, as he is the one having a beef with the prostitutes recently. When Polly is done fucking a client, McQueen shows up and takes his commission from the payment she gets, and she is really upset after that. When she is on her way back, a man stops on the road. He is on a buggy and goes on to offer the woman a ride. Taking a ride does not turn out to be a good idea, as the man goes on to kill her as well. He has a proper toolkit, and with his weapons, he goes on to tear up her whole body. The next morning, when the body is found, Inspector Frederick is called there at the scene, and while he inspects the place, he also finds the little branches of grapes thrown there. It turns out that the woman has been killed in the same method as Martha, the previous prostitute that got murdered. It turned out that the killer first slits the throat, then cuts open the chest and takes out the other organs. Frederick goes to his superior officer named Charles to report this. He tells him that this job has been done by a surgeon because a common man cannot just kill and perform those things in a clean manner. His superior, however, goes on to tell him that he is not too impressed by his theories and orders him to have the case closed as soon as possible. The next day, Frederick goes to the prostitute's funeral, where all the others are also present. He meets with all of them, tells them that he is sorry for what has been going on, and goes on to ask them a few questions. There, he also gets to talk to Mary. She tells him that this has been done by none other than McQueen, and that they should arrest him right away. Inspector goes on to tell her, however, that he has no proof against McQueen, so he cannot arrest him just like that. He tells her that they need to cooperate with them to gather the evidence. However, Mary gets upset and leaves. That night, Mary goes on to have a chat with her friend. She tells her that she was just 8 when her mother died, and she had no one to look after her, which is why she had to get into this dirty business. As they talk, the owner of the building shows up. He is really rude to all of them and goes on to kick all the girls out because they've been unable to pay the rent. The serial killer, on the other hand, is out again, and another prostitute ends up becoming his victim. Frederick shows up the next morning. He sees that the girl has been killed the same way, and he again finds the grape branches near the dead body. He now starts thinking that this must be some kind of ritual which the killer performs when he kills a girl. He goes to London Hospital to investigate the matter further because he is now sure that this is the doing of a surgeon. There, he sees a man named John was in a really bad condition, but the surgeons have performed surgery on him and the man can stand now. There, he sees Albert is also present, and this is the same place where they performed the surgery on the woman Anne. There, Frederick goes on to see a young surgeon and tells him that he needs his help in solving a case. The young doctor, however, does not seem interested in helping him, and in the meantime, Dr. William gets there. He takes Frederick to a separate room, and as they get to discuss the case, William ends up agreeing to help him. Frederick then goes on to draw the weapon with which the girls have been killed, and the doctor then goes on to show him many different blades that have been used while slicing the girls open. He tells him that they all use these blades only when they are performing surgery. The scene then changes to Albert, who sits on a buggy with a man who happens to be in league with the serial killer. William then goes to see Queen Victoria, who goes on to tell him that her grandson is sick and she does not think he is going to be around soon, but William tells her that he might be able to find a cure for the prince. Frederick then tells his men to be more active in the hotspots where the killer has been killing the prostitutes. The killer, on the other hand, tells his other partner to get ready for their next target, but the man says that they should stop it now. The killer, however, tells them that they have no choice but to keep going. That night, Frederick himself goes to see Mary and asks her about the getup of the people she saw. She goes on to tell him the getup of the people who came to kidnap Anne from the inn she was staying at. Inspector then tells the girl to be careful out there and says that she does not have to do anything against McQueen because he has a network of his own, and if she does that, she could very much get killed. He then meets his colleague and goes on to talk about a man named Ben Kidney. His colleague tells Frederick to stay away from him because it would be a mistake to try and search that guy as he is a big man. Frederick, however, does not listen to him, and the next day, he makes his way to Kidney's office. They manage to get the files about Anne's case and get out of there when they are just about to be caught. They find out that Anne is being kept at a facility where they keep the mental ones. Frederick takes Mary with him and goes to see Anne, but she does not want to talk to anyone. It turns out that she has been made mad intentionally because they do not want her to talk to anyone. Mary tells her that she is going to bring her daughter back to her and goes away. That night, they get to talk and Frederick goes on to tell her about himself as well. He tells her how his wife died. He asks her about Anne's husband and she tells him the whole story behind how they got married. They then start getting to enjoy each other's company and end up going to the art gallery. There, Mary sees one of Albert's paintings, and now she understands that he is not just a painter, he is actually a prince. Frederick then right away goes to see Dr. William because now he has a lot of data to attach to the strings of this case. Anne's husband is now revealed to be Prince Albert, grandson of reigning Queen Victoria. Albert is dying of syphilis, which makes baby Alice the soon-to-be heiress to the British throne. Frederick thinks that it could be Prince Albert who has been having the girls murdered, but William tells him that he is not capable of pulling it off. When Frederick is with his colleague, he goes on to receive a letter, and with that letter, there is also a human organ that has been cut in half. Frederick then goes to see Mary. He tells her that he is going to get Anne's daughter for them, but she is going to have to wait for the right time. He then gives her some money and tells her to leave the town for a few days along with her friends. Mary and the other girls rent a room, and that night, the two girls end up getting into a fight, and one of them storms out in the dead of the night. Frederick, on the other hand, tells his colleague that Ben Kidney used to be a surgeon in the military before he became an employee of the government. Everything makes sense to him now. He goes on to say that Anne's daughter is going to be the heir to the British throne after her father, Prince Albert, is dead, which is going to be because the man suffers from a deadly disease. He says that they want to eliminate all the witnesses to Anne's marriage to the prince, and they are all well aware that if a daughter of a prostitute is made heir to the throne, there is going to be great unrest in the whole country, so they are now eliminating everyone connected with this marriage. The girl who stormed out of the room in the middle of the night gets caught by the killer, and he goes on to slit her throat, but before he is able to get the girl's organ out, another man gets there and sees him. He leaves the girl's body and runs away. Frederick gets to the scene, and when he sees that the girl's organs have not been taken out, he suspects that the man is going to murder another girl because he was unable to take this one's organs out. This is exactly what happens, and the killer ends up killing another girl who came out of the room looking for the girl that was killed before. Frederick feels like something is not right, and he moves to the area where the girl has been murdered. He himself, however, ends up being caught by Kidney and his men. They threaten to kill him if he ever tries to list them as suspects again. Frederick gets to the crime scene, and this time, the killer has written that Jews are not to be blamed for this. This time, the superior officer Charles also gets to the crime scene and tells Frederick to have the lines removed from the wall, but Frederick refuses to do so as they could come in handy during the investigation. Charles gets angry at him for disobedience and tells him that he is no longer allowed to work on this case. He goes to his house and gets back to his habit of drinking and thinking about his dead wife. He sees a vision in which he sees that the last victim is going to be Mary. He then sees the killer killing Mary in his vision, and this leads him to wake up. He right away goes to see William because he now suspects him too. When he talks to him, the doctor goes on to reveal that Queen Victoria herself ordered the murder of those girls, and he, Charles, and Kidney has been in this agency, working for the Queen. They are called Freemasons. William boasts to Frederick that he will be remembered in history for giving birth to the 20th century. Frederick draws his gun, vowing that William will never see the 20th century, but before he is able to shoot William, he is knocked out by Ben Kidney, another Freemason. The Freemasons try to eliminate Frederick without any witnesses, but Frederick fights back and kills two of the assassins by overturning a carriage. Frederick rushes to save Mary but arrives too late and blames his superior for not helping him or Godley on the cases. William's increasingly sinister behavior lends insight into his murderous but calculating mind. Rather than publicly charge William, the Freemasons lobotomize him to protect themselves and the royal family from the scandal. William defiantly states that he has no equal among men, remaining unrepentant until the operation, which renders him an invalid like Anne. Frederick goes to the Ten Bells Tavern in Whitechapel and receives a mysterious letter from Mary. It is revealed that William had mistaken another prostitute, Ada, for Mary and killed her instead. To protect Mary, Frederick decides not to look for her, as the Freemasons are still watching him closely. He burns Mary's letter, knowing that he can never have a normal life with her. Sergeant Godfrey later finds Frederick dead of an opium overdose. Distraught, Godley places 2 coins over Frederick's eyes and mournfully says, "Good night, sweet prince." Years later, Mary is shown to have adopted Alice, and the two are living in a cottage on a cliff by the sea. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.